Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. You'll see on the slide, it's about financial guidance for seniors. Today is the second workshop in our series for this month. Next slide, please. Just a brief comment about Zoom accessibility and how to utilize Zoom. Make sure that your laptop you have set for full screen so you can see clearly. To not be on a mobile device, a phone or an iPad that's very limited when you scroll or being able to see. So you'll want full screen on a laptop. Make sure that the mute is off or mute is on, excuse me, that your microphone is off. We have voice interpreters and then also the live transcription closed caption. You can click that at the bottom to start the captioning. If you have any technical issues or difficulties at any time, please comment in chat. Text chat and support will be there to help you during the presentation. Next slide. How Zoom works is basically you'll see a line in between me and the slides, and it has two little side bars in the middle, and you can slide basically the windows and be able to make whichever one bigger or smaller that you choose. Make sure that you also use gallery view. Up at the top right hand corner, you click view and you click on that gallery view to be able to make sure that you're in the right view of this PowerPoint in my presentation. If you have any questions at all, please again go into the QA box. Instead of the chat, the QA box on Zoom at the bottom, you'll see QA for any questions to me. But if you have any technical issues, then you'll use the chat. There will also be two polls that come up to ask a question. You'll answer those there as well. This is sponsored by CSD Learns. They also have a grant with Wells Fargo Foundation, which is partnering together to provide this webinar through the grant. So thank you so much to both of them for providing this grant, this webinar. It's a great education, information presentation or webinar for people throughout the United States that are needing to have some financial education. So this month is specifically about different pieces of information for those for senior citizens. And I want to introduce myself at this point. My name is Stephanie Summers. I'm a financial advisor and I live in Maryland. I work with a financial firm. I've been with them for almost 16 years. So today I'm going to present about Social Security. Last week I was here presenting about fraud and scams. That was last week's topic. This week's topic is about Social Security. We have two more remaining webinars. Next week will be about Medicare, and the last one is going to be about retirement income. So those are the four topics for this month. Today, this is what we're going to cover. Basically, four topics in regards to Social Security. First is going to be a brief history about Social Security. Then we're going to talk about when you should start applying or request Social Security benefits. Then the third is the decisions that you might want to make in deciding when to start claiming those benefits. And the fourth will be basically how it impacts you as a married couple. So those are the four topics of today's discussion. Today, again, topic is Social Security. You're going to learn more details about Social Security. Just keep in mind that what I'm presenting on today is informational only, and that's based on my knowledge and experience. Social Security could be very complicated, so I will answer your questions at the end to the best of my ability based on my experience. Some of those questions I may not be able to answer, but you can always contact Social Security for more information later from their agents. So next will be a poll. It will be a question to all of you that are in attendance. Do you know how the amount of Social Security benefits you're eligible for? Okay, we'll show the answers or the result of the poll. Okay, 11% people are aware of how much they will be able to be eligible for. 5% do not know in this group. And then most of you, 84%, already have received or claimed Social Security benefits. So thank you so much for your answers. We'll take that poll off, or the results, I should say. And the second question that we have for you today is, do you know what age that you would start collecting benefits? And the yes or no, and then I already have received benefits. Okay, let's show the results, please. Okay, so 16% of people do not know when they will start receiving benefits, and then the majority have already started receiving benefits. So thank you for your answers. So we'll begin now talking about Social Security. A little bit of the history about Social Security, of when that did start. It started actually in Germany. The first country to invent or start providing Social Security insurance program was in 1889. That gentleman in the picture that you see there, he, Mr. Bismarck, was actually in Germany at the time, long time ago. He was the one that created the Social Security insurance. But then many years later in the United States, 1935, it was instituted here in the United States. The first person who actually received Social Security benefits was Ernest Ackerman, and he received a lump sum. That's all. 17 cents back then, a lump sum, and then his Social Security was completed. And then about 40 years later, it started becoming monthly, and that was Ida May Fuller. She was 65 at the time that she received her first monthly amount in January 1940, and that was $22.54 a month. She received those benefits until she was 100 years old when she passed away. So the cumulative amount of what she received from the government was $22,888.92. So that's basically a brief history of how Social Security began. The next slide here shows the age. So if you're not sure of when you would start or want to start receiving Social Security benefits, there's basically 3 different categories or age groups. You need to know basically when your full retirement age is. It's either 66 or 67. If you wait until that age, or if you want to receive it early, you can be 62 or as late as 70 years old. And so we'll explain how much each category would receive. And if you decide to claim Social Security, there's a lot of factors that's involved in calculating and figuring out which age you would like to start receiving benefits. So we'll describe those here in the future slides. So if you decide basically when to claim Social Security, you cannot change that afterwards. You cannot claim, receive benefits, and then change your mind and stop receiving benefits. If maybe you decide later you wanted to wait until your husband receives Social Security, how much he receives, and then recalculate or reclaim, you cannot do that. You really need to figure out in advance what number it is that you're shooting for, and what's the impact going to be for you personally for your income before you claim. And there's really a no one size fits all here. It's basically individual decision making based on your circumstances. And here's some of the things that you want to think about that are involved in your decision making. Full retirement age, what would that number look like? And then if you see the number for full retirement age, what that income would look like. And you may wait until 70 years old and see what that income would be. Or maybe if you pulled your claim early at 62, what would that look like? You really want to think about how long your life expectancy in general would be. Maybe if you feel I'm healthy, I'm going to live until 100 or 90 years old, my family genetics based on that, and maybe think about what age you might live until. If you feel like you're not going to retire very long, it's different than 20, 25, 30 years. That's a quite a bit of a discrepancy in length. So if you'll continue working is another consideration, or if you're completed your work and want to fully retire. What other income do you maybe have to pull from? Do you have a savings account, investments, pension plan? So all of that accumulatively, what do all of those benefits provide? And then think about income tax. Is that going to be paid or not paid? If you're married, will that impact your spouse's, their Social Security pension or Social Security benefits? And which one should you apply under? There's a lot to consider. And that's why I just said it's a personal decision, because it is based on all of these in your life circumstances. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Each person needs to decide based on all of these factors how you want to apply and when you want to apply. So calculating your retirement age and how that impacts you. There's a chart here that shows the age that you're born, or the year that you're born, excuse me, and retirement age, and what that looks like as far as saying if you're full retirement age for full Social Security, if you're born, before or after 1956. So age is 66, 67 years old between those ages. So if you're on the cusp, then it might be 67 as your full retirement age. If you're 65 now, you could wait 2 years. But if you're completely decided that you're done working and you no longer want to work and you want to retire fully, you can actually claim Social Security now. And I'll explain what that looks like if you're doing it early or later. If you're 62 years old and claim early, which you can at 62, but actually let me back up a minute here and explain to you one thing. For those people that will, commonly claim at 62 years of age, many of them, deaf individuals, can claim SSDI. That's well before your full retirement age, Social Security disability, and I will explain more about that. But it's very common out there to claim Social Security disability before your full retirement age of Social Security. So going back to this, 62, you can claim and get $1,400 a month. So before you retire, for example, if your full retirement age is planning to be 66, you would lose 25% of your benefits by claiming at 62 years old. So 1,400 at 62. If you wait till 66, you're talking about 1,867, 1,867. So that increase is 25% if you wait. If you're full retirement age, 67 years old, you get the $2,000 or 1,400. You really need to think that through about calculating the amount. If you feel, for example, if you start claiming and you also have different sources of income, you might well satisfy the need of making your ends meet and budgeting. But if you retire early, you start at the $1,400 a month at 62, and then you go to 67 without claiming, excuse me, you're talking about quite a bit more a month. Over time, that's going to be the same. There's a lot of factors again to consider. So if your needing the money now, or you budget and figure out what the monthly would be, what your whole income would look like in the calculations. There's a lot to consider if you want to claim early or claim at full age. Suppose you decide to wait and you want to wait until it's 60 or 70 years old and do late benefits. It's $2,480 if you do wait until the age of 70, which is a 80% increase from 67, the age of 67. It increases each time 8%, excuse me, each year that you wait to 2,480. So if you want to receive the larger amount, 2,400, you want to wait till 70, especially if you continue working until you're older. But if you definitely do not want to keep working, then that makes it a lot more challenging. As far as SSDI goes, that's the common compensation until you hit full retirement age as a deaf individual. For example, my full retirement age is 67 years old. If I get SSDI, I can definitely receive that benefit before 67, anytime before 67, because I'm a deaf individual. Some people out there will get SSDI. They will receive more money through SSDI than they would through Social Security. It's really one or the other. You cannot get both benefits. You have to get one or the other. And so if you want to check information on how to, I'll explain how to receive or look for that information to see which benefit would be more a larger amount for you to decide which one you would prefer to use. And then here you see the age of 70. At 77% income, you can get that 77% more income at 70 versus 62 years of age. However, if you start collecting at age 62, you will accumulate over about $150,000. So you have to consider starting getting your income now or Social Security now, earning it, or waiting until later. There's still that decision making. There's a lot to calculate based on what is better benefit for all of you financially. Remember, it's a personal decision, but I'm just wanting to give you all the facts here before you make that decision for yourself. Next slide.
Now, like I had mentioned before, how long is your life expectancy? That's something you don't know, but statistics show that age 65, you'll continue probably to about the age of 90. 1 out of 3 people will survive to age 90. Now, 65 to age 95 is 1 out of 7 is the life expectancy. We do live longer these days than we have done in the past. So retirement age will actually, take a few shifts. Right now it's 67. It could possibly change to 68, 69, and 70. That's something we don't know yet. But as of now, the law says it is 67 is full retirement age. So statistics, are always changing. So the most recent information is from January of 2020. Before the age was, I believe, 85, and it continues to increase. Why? Because, we continue to get healthier. We're keeping ourselves more active. There's medications that help us, to sustain and live longer. There's a lot of factors that, extend our life expectancy. Now, if you want to file a claim for Social Security, you're wondering, okay, should I continue to work or should I stop working? And how would that impact my Social Security benefits? What does that look like? If you decide to go ahead and start drawing your Social Security and you have not yet met the full retirement age, that means that your work earnings will actually be reduce your Social Security benefits. It will, and that can impact your benefits. So you need to know what the numbers are to try to keep below that number. If you actually make over a certain limit, it's going to affect your benefits. So if you hit full retirement age, you're there and you're earning your work earnings, plus you have Social Security benefits, and your Social Security is kind of reduced, and it's not impacted at all because of your work earnings. But then you decide, should I keep working, or maybe I should not continue working? You're trying to figure out which is the best, avenue for yourself. Now, how you can calculate this is, if I continue working, how much money am I going to earn? And what's, the minimum that I need to earn, or the maximum I need to earn, and what is the age? So you can earn up to 18,960. That number is for the year 2021. Now, last year, the number was a little bit more reduced, and next year it could increase. They're always typically changing that number, but this number is for currently 2021. So before retirement age, you could actually lose $1 for every $2 based off of your income from work earnings. That is a formula that Social Security uses. So the next thing is, so say you're really close to retirement age, maybe say you're a year away from retirement age. You can earn up to $50,520 in 2021. If it's over that, then yes, it's $1 for every $3 of your earnings that impacts your Social Security benefits. Now, if you're at full retirement age, 66 or 67, and then from then on, you can earn whatever you want. There's no impact on your Social Security benefits at all. Now, Social Security, will it be taxable? That's a lot of questions, people have. And how will it be taxed? So if your total income from 3 different things, so say you have your adjusted gross income, meaning your work earnings, or maybe some type of pension that you're receiving, or your retirement account, like maybe an IRA, so that you're getting all 3 of these sources of income. What is that total combined income for you? If you file taxes as a single person, then your earned income needs to be between $25,000 to $34,000 as a single person. Then you're taxed 50% of your combined income. So half of your Social Security is taxed 50%. If you're married, it would be between $32,000 and $44,000 is the range. Your benefits for your Social Security could increase if you earn more than $34,000 as a single person. And they also can take taxes out, maybe like at 85% of your Social Security for your combined income. Or if you're married, it's more than 44,000, apologies. If you decide how much you want to have for your total income, you have to keep in mind what the impact is going to be on your taxes. So it's important to keep that in mind. So how decisions of these of married couples, how they, the decisions and how they make impacts on one another. So survivor and the income total, and what the impacts of this makes on each spouse. And what ages, maybe that you should claim for Social Security, 62, 67, 66, 70, or maybe somewhere in between. You have to figure out how those numbers, impact each other, and that helps you to make a better decision. Now, retirement for spouses, it's important. There's 2 key factors. So, there's important things. So you have one spouse, you need to figure out what each one of you are earning, what those numbers look like. Then you need to figure out now if you should do it now or if you should wait, what your earned income looks like now and what that could look like later, and put all those numbers together. At full retirement age, you are 100% you're getting 100% of your benefits. Now your spouse, then how can they earn 50% of your benefits? And how that, I'm going to explain how that works. For example, suppose I'll get, for example, $3,000 a month at age 67. That's my full benefit. And my spouse, at their full retirement age, they would actually maybe say get $2,000. So my benefit is $3,000. My spouse has to decide should they claim half of my benefit or if they should keep their full benefit. Half of my benefit would be $1,500 a month. Their benefit is $2,000. So what is the better option? Then my spouse's benefit is obviously the better option here. Say if my number, is lower, say it's been reduced and it was maybe like $1,500. That's my full benefit. My spouse's benefit is $2,000, for example. Then half of my spouse's benefit, hold on, no, I'm sorry, I apologize, my numbers are off. So let me back up for a moment. So my spouse's is $3,000. My benefit is $1,000. Now half of the spouse's benefit is $1,500 and mine's $1,000 if I file on my own record. That means I need to claim on my husband's because that is the better benefit. I will get 50% of my husband's record because he can get full retirement age and I must hit my full retirement age also. But I've decided, and I need to decide if I'm going to use my own record or half of my husband's. His is $1,500, and then my claim would be $1,000. So it would be better for me to claim off of his record from here on out because it's the higher income, and I wouldn't claim on my own at all. I would drop that completely. So, okay, making sure that I covered everything on this and share this information with you all. Okay, next slide. Now for survivor benefits. Now, for a couple, say that, one of the spouses passes away, they'll receive a greater benefit. If mine's a greater benefit, then I would keep mine. But if the spouse's is greater, then I would go with the spouse's. So you have to figure out which one is the greater benefit. So say that my, spouse passed away at a young age. I can't claim his survivor benefits until the age of 60. So before that, I'm not able to claim his benefits. After that, I can, but with the understanding, if I'm not at full retirement age yet, and say I decide to do the survivor benefits before my full retirement age, then it'll be a little bit more of a reduced benefit because it's age 60 when you can apply, but then it's reduced until you reach full retirement age, and that's when you actually receive the full benefit. So you have to decide, should I go ahead and claim now, or if I should wait until full retirement age? You have to figure out what is the better option. I know it's a lot of decision making. It's a lot of, strategy and trying to figure out, do I need to go this route, which is going to be the better option. So, you don't have to think this out all on your own. You can discuss it with your, financial advisor. They will, or their someone that has an advisor, and you can discuss the numbers with them and you can figure out what your options are, and that will help you to make a better decision. Okay, so this chart actually shows you if you delay your benefits. What is the advantages? You can see the different numbers here. Suppose that your spouse, there's two of you, you'll see their earnings at age 62. The first earning is $1,680. The second is $1,397. For a total of $3,077. Now, if you wait till age 70, you see a significant difference. The first one is $2,976. The second is $2,475 for a total of $5,451. That's about a $2,374 increase if you wait to the age of 70 instead of claiming at the age of 62. Same thing if you wait until 67, it's actually more than 62. So it's very important that you get your numbers from Social Security to understand this information. You can get your numbers from their website. The socialsecurity.gov is the actual website. You can go there, you can see your estimated benefits. If you haven't filed a claim, you'll see those numbers listed there. There'll be 4 different numbers actually listed: age 62, age 67, age 70. Now the age 67 is based on your full retirement age, 66 or 67, whichever category you fall into. The last one is the disability number. If you actually claim before full retirement age, is the 4th number that they provide you with. So those that you see here on this chart, these numbers, so figure if one spouse passes away, do I have enough income? It's important to say, oh, wow, if one of us passes away, that's a huge impact. It reduces your overall income significantly. So the longer that you wait, the more that, the more money that you'll be able to take advantage of. Some people just go ahead and claim early. And then it's like, well, what do you do with the money? You can invest the money in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different options for you to invest the money. So this restricted application strategy is kind of one of the few strategies for spouses. It's not a very common use for people these days because people have already, reached that age. If you're before 1954, January 1st of 1954, you can actually claim your spouse's benefits later. If you continue working, there's a formula of certain criteria that you have to meet. Then you can claim, and it will show you I have some examples on the next slide here. All right, so for example, you have your wife, Diane. She is 66 years old. She started her own benefits on her own record. Then at age 66, Mike also files, but he decides to file the restricted application for spousal benefits based on his wife's record. So he's filing the restricted, which means that Mike, when he actually hits age 70, he'll draw a larger income based on his own record because he delayed until the age of 70. He deferred it, or referred it to the age 70. So this is one of the examples of the restricted application. This is for those who were born 1954 or before only, though, January 1st, 1954 or before. For anyone born after that date, it doesn't apply. So this example, is not as common because a lot of those have already retired. Next slide. Now, as I've mentioned through the presentation, the choice is your choice to make when it comes to these options. Whatever you decide to claim either early or later. The reasons that you would actually, get Social Security early, some of them could be, you need income right away. You want to get the income and you want to use it to invest. One of the other options could be you want to delay using money from other retirement sources, like maybe your pension or your IRA. You don't want to touch those just yet. So you're leaving those be and you're just going to draw the Social Security from now. The options vary, and it may just, it's person by person and whatever your needs are. The fourth is your spouse has a delay in receiving benefits, say that, they want to continue working, or we need to continue working because of the increase of income. It kind of is, it's based off of your decisions, but those are the 4 things. If you claim early, those are kind of some of the common reasons. Now, if you wait till later, some of the reasons people wait till later is you want a higher monthly retirement benefit. You want to maximize your survivor, income that you will receive. You want to make sure that, one person, if they pass away, then the other has enough income to be able to survive. The third could be you love your job, you want to continue working longer. Or you just feel like that you have to work for some reason to meet maybe some income needs that you have. The fourth is you're able to file your spouse's benefits first, then switch over to your own benefits at a later time. So you can see your options here, are plentiful. You can do that earlier or you can do it later. There's a lot for you to consider, and it's very important to remember that it's your personal decision. There's no one standard answer for everyone. Next slide. So how you get your Social Security information, your statement, you can go to the website, which is socialsecurity.gov. They have, some links where you can actually go in and it says your estimated benefits. You can actually click there. If you haven't registered, then I encourage you to register, fill out your information, access your account. You'll actually see your numbers listed there. If you haven't done that, or if you haven't started to draw benefits, you'll see the information there. If you've already claimed, then you'll actually see what your monthly benefits are currently. There's more questions and discussion and options on what to do if you're not really sure. That you can always contact Social Security over the phone. You can email them with questions, and then you guys, can take time to connect and set up an appointment and discuss all the questions that you have. Now, in regards to the COVID situation, so Social Security will not release any of your personal information or, go in depth about your Social Security record or any of that information. If you receive a phone call and they're saying, hey, we want to share your information, I will give you a gift card, I'll give you money in trade for that information, do not do that. Hang up. Don't even bother answering the phone call. Actually, you probably do have caller ID. You can be like, oh, who is that number? I don't know the number. Or on your video phone, you can see and you don't recognize the number. Don't even answer it. Just ignore the phone call. Another scheme that they do is they'll make up an email. Do not reply to the email. Remember that Social Security, the Social Security Administration, will not call you or ask you questions over the phone. You'll always get a letter in the mail first for contact. For example, most recently, I did register myself on the Social Security website to get my information. So I got a letter in the mail from Social Security letting me know, hey, thank you for registering online. Proof that, I actually did set up the account online. If I didn't do it, then of course I would receive the letter and then I would call and I report it. Or I could go to this website address that's listed on the slide, and they'll go to the office of the Inspector General, Social Security Administration. And remember, I mentioned to you last week, those who, showed up for my presentation last week on the fraud and scams that we discussed. It's very important to look at the HTTPS part to know that a website is secure. If there's no S there, that means that it is not a secure website, and it does not belong to Social Security. It's not their website. So it's important to identify the HTTPS. It means that it is a secure encrypted website. And if it has no S, that means people can see your information online.
Okay, so my firm is this or has information, excuse me, online. If you may have missed anything here or don't understand, CSD can share the information with you later on, so please feel free to contact them. Okay, now I'm going to open for any questions that the audience has, and I will state what the question is from the Q&A box and then answer that question. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to take a drink of water. Okay, so the first question here is, can you explain about the windfall for people who are CSRS retirees? So it seems like this person is a retired person from CSRS, and then her husband is under, wait. I'm sorry. Okay, I read that wrong. So this person retired under CSRS, that system, while her husband is retiring from FERS, FERS retiree system. So she said she couldn't get his Social Security after he passed away, but she's eligible for her own Social Security, but that she hasn't started that process of getting her own benefits. Okay, wow, very good question and very complicated as well. So people who claim SCRS, they do not get Social Security because they pay 7% to that pension system, that CSRS system. So that's a separate retirement system. That's an old federal government pension system. CSRS is quite outdated. It's historical at this point, and it went until 1983. In 1983 and past, it changed to FERS, F-E-R-S, FERS system. So people who have the older retirement cannot claim Social Security. They go through CSRS. However, if they did work for a private company before the government or after the government work, and they meet the Social Security criteria or credits, then they can receive Social Security as well. And there's a special formula that happens to calculate the amount. It is not the full amount of Social Security in that scenario. The calculation is very complicated, and that's for another discussion and topic, unfortunately. And then the second question, okay, so the second question here asks if they can get SSDI before the age of 70. I'm confused, they say, about the benefits and how that works. So before 70 years old, that isn't really the marker there. You can claim SSDI before you can fully retire or your full retirement age, anytime up until 70. So for example, my full retirement age is 67. I must claim Social Security before I hit the age of 67. After the age of 67, I then claim Social Security and I no longer claim SSDI as a benefit. It becomes Social Security. I have to claim one or the other. So hopefully that answers that. And then the third question here, oops. Okay, yes, so what if Social Security runs out? Is that going to happen? So Social Security on their report, their first page of their contents page, table of contents, it says it could run out in the year 2034, but there's no actual guarantee there. We just know that Congress is working diligently on the possibility of maybe changing something. There is just kind of in the air right now. There is no concrete answer to that. Is Social Security going to run out? The next one I see here is The cost of living. Will we continue getting a COLA increase? And what will retirement look like in the future? Our retirement benefits, are they increasing? Is the other part of that question. And what will retirement look like really in the future? None of us know that answer, unfortunately. There's no crystal ball that we can look into, unfortunately, for an ideal answer to give you. The crystal ball didn't tell me the answer, unfortunately. Therefore, unfortunately, what we need to do then is just plan as best as we can for our own lifestyle. Like I explained in the presentation, you need to figure out if you would like to retire now or later based on your income needs, your lifestyle, your Social Security income, what that number looks like. Do you have pension to draw on or not? Those different factors. Some people are fortunate to have a retirement pension. If they work for a private company, nowadays there is no pension like there was before working in the private sector, like IBM. Various different companies back then provided pension. Today that is greatly reduced and it's switched over more to the 401k retirement, 403b, 457 plan. So we encourage all of you to build up your retirement accounts. That is key to be able to live comfortably and have the lifestyle that you're dreaming of when you retire. Possibly travel, spend more time with grandchildren, go and visit different locations, maybe here in the United States or abroad. Go to Europe, another part of the world, different continents. You really need to envision how much or think about how much you need for retirement to fulfill your lifestyle and what that looks like. A financial advisor will greatly help you in calculating and figuring out what that looks like for you. Second part of that question to answer that is really it's more of really seeing what your incomes look like. It's very difficult, unfortunately, to figure out if it'll run out or to know that answer. So you want to make sure that the money outlives you is basically the goal here. It's not the other way around. You don't want to outlive the money income source. You want money to outlive you, which means that the money will be there until and after you have passed on. So then it could go to your family members, right? To be a legacy or to give that to charity. So there's a purpose of how much money that you want to have and live with and to continue to have to then divvy out afterwards. Next question I see here to answer. Okay, so I'm not for sure clear on the first part of this question. It says the question is the number of benefits that we get is based on what? So I'm not sure if I'm clear on that. So the person that asked me that question, there we go. Hold on. I think I'm getting clarity right now. 1 second. Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that. So they're asking how much money is it determined on the number of benefits? So with Social Security benefits, the question is really how they calculate it. Social Security uses a formula, and that's based on the 35 years of work history that you have had. Typically, that's the average amount of years that people work is 35. If you have not worked 35 years, then they're going to look at your work history, the total amount of years that you have worked. Looking at your Social Security table, let's see, that third page, you're going to see the work history and your income that you've gained every year or earned every year, and then review that just to make sure the numbers are accurate. Suppose you look at that and you find out that your annual salary is not correct in Social Security's system, so you call them to get that remedied. Basically, it's used to calculate your Social Security benefits when you become retired age. The next question is how much money are we putting into a retirement plan or should put into a retirement plan? That is a great question. It's definitely based on your individual lifestyle situation. if you invest early when you're younger, then your benefits will definitely last for years to come. Your retirement plan might be very well established for when you retire. There's many people who envision and try to envision what income they would need when they retire. I really encourage you to come to my last topic about retirement income. The fourth week of this month is much more detailed about retirement and income and what that looks like. So thank you all so much for your questions. I greatly appreciate it. And so far, it looks like there's no more questions. So we are done for today's topic. Next session or next slide. So the next session will be next Tuesday. I'm going to talk about Medicare. It's going to be completely about Medicare next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So I will see you there. I do want to thank all of you again for participating in this webinar. And CSD Learns, thank you. Wells Fargo Foundation as well. We're greatly appreciative of your sponsorship, and everybody that came here asking questions. If you have any more questions, please contact CSD Learns at csd.org, learns at csd.org. to learn more. If you have other questions that pop up and you would like to ask them, please email them and they will contact me to follow up on your questions to answer them to the best of my ability. So thank you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday for the next webinar. Bye-bye.